Anna Matza ordered multiple assassinations from a maximum security cell. Jennifer forced vulnerable teenage girls to smuggle drugs for $20. And Maria Dolores Estevez Zuleta. She ran a brothel in the shadow of the guard towers. These are female gang leaders who abused their power in prison. Anna Matza. The concrete walls of Italy's maximum security prison system were supposed to mark the end of Anna Matza's criminal empire. Instead, they became the headquarters for one of the most audacious displays of prison power abuse in mafia history. Known as the Godmother of the Camorra and the Black Widow, Matza had controlled the Moccia clan since her husband's death in 1970, expanding operations into extortion, drug trafficking, and violent rackets that would eventually make her the first woman convicted under Italy's anti-mafia laws in 1990. When sentenced to life imprisonment in 1990 for mafia association and murder, authorities believed they had finally neutralized one of Italy's most dangerous crime bosses. They were catastrophically wrong. Matza immediately set about transforming her prison cell into a de facto command center for the Moccia clan, exploiting every weakness in the system to maintain her iron grip on Naples' criminal underworld. Her method was diabolically simple, yet devastatingly effective. Through family visits and corrupt prison channels, she passed detailed orders to her sons and associates, ensuring that extortion rackets continued bleeding local businesses dry and drug distribution networks expanded their reach. The isolation measures designed to cut mafia leaders off from their criminal networks became nothing more than minor obstacles to overcome. What made Matza's prison reign particularly terrifying was her orchestration of targeted violence against rivals, while under what was supposed to be the strictest surveillance. Investigations later revealed she had ordered multiple hits to protect her family's interests and eliminate threats during the vicious clan wars raging through Naples. From her maximum security cell, she directed assassinations with the casual efficiency of a CEO approving quarterly reports. Guards, initially sympathetic to an elderly woman, found themselves gradually drawn into her web of influence through bribes and threats. This corruption network allowed her to smuggle messages, receive intelligence about police operations, and coordinate criminal activities as if she were sitting in a boardroom rather than a cell. She was eventually released in 2009 at age 82 due to health and age considerations, after serving nearly 2 decades of orchestrating crime from behind bars until her death in 2017. Anna Matza's prison command center was shocking, but this next female gang leader took control from complete isolation. Maria Licciardi. Prison isolation was designed to break criminal leaders, but for Maria Licciardi, it became the perfect shield for coordinating one of Italy's most violent criminal campaigns. Dubbed La Piccirilla, the Little One, or Camorra Princess, Licciardi led the Licciardi clan within Naples' Secondigliano alliance, specializing in prostitution rings, drug trafficking, cigarette smuggling, and widespread extortion. Her ruthless leadership had already sparked deadly clan wars that resulted in about 30 murders, making her one of Italy's most wanted fugitives. First arrested in 2001 for mafia association and extortion, Licciardi was subjected to Italy's harsh Article 41 bis regime, severe isolation with no phone calls, limited visits, and constant monitoring specifically designed to prevent communication with the outside criminal world. The authorities congratulated themselves on finally silencing the Camorra princess. They couldn't have been more wrong. Despite these draconian restrictions, Licciardi continued commanding her clan's vast criminal empire from her isolation cell, turning the very measures meant to neutralize her into tools of covert operation. She exploited loopholes like corrupt guards and coded messages during rare family visits to direct prostitution networks, drug shipments, and extortion schemes across Naples and beyond. During her early 2000s maximum security confinement, she allegedly orchestrated a devastating wave of violence that included ordering assassinations of rival clan members to resolve territorial disputes, contributing to dozens of deaths and intensifying the Secondigliano clan wars. Intercepted communications revealed she dictated financial decisions and enforced loyalty through threats of violence against disloyal associates or their families, maintaining absolute control from her concrete bunker. Her manipulation of the prison system became legendary among law enforcement circles. Multiple arrests, releases, and resentencings only demonstrated her persistence in abusing power at every opportunity. After temporary release in 2019, when a Naples court annulled her preventive detention, she was rearrested in August 2021 at Rome's Ciampino airport while attempting to flee to Spain. Prosecutors claimed she was still actively managing clan affairs remotely. By 2023, she was resentenced to nearly 13 years, with her actions cementing her legacy as a criminal mastermind who turned prison isolation into her greatest strategic advantage. Think isolation can stop a criminal? This next female gang leader proved that guards underestimate dangerous women at their own peril. Raffaella Dalterio. Behind the deceptively innocent nickname Mitsiona, the Big Kitten, lay one of the Camorra's most calculating manipulators, a woman who weaponized gender stereotypes to maintain criminal control from behind bars. Rafaela Dalterio had clawed her way to the top of the Pianese Dalterio clan through allegedly arranging her husband's murder to seize control, establishing herself as one of the Camorra's most feared female bosses through extreme violence, intimidation tactics, and profitable drug operations. Her criminal empire came crashing down in 2012 when she was arrested alongside 65 associates for mafia crimes, including extortion, drug trafficking, and association. Authorities believed they had finally caged the Big Kitten, subjecting her to Italy's stringent 41 bis regime designed to isolate mafia leaders completely. What they discovered instead was that Dalterio had turned her imprisonment into a masterclass in exploiting systemic weaknesses and gender bias within the correctional system. The key to her success was her exploitation of guards, who reportedly underestimated her, allowing her greater leeway to manipulate the system than her male counterparts might have received. While appearing to be a harmless middle-aged woman serving her time quietly, Dalterio was continuing to micromanage clan activities from her cell, using smuggled mobile phones and bribed prison officials to issue directives for ongoing extortion schemes targeting local businesses throughout Naples. Her most audacious abuse of power involved ordering violent reprisals against rival clans from her prison cell. Prosecutors linked her to several post-arrest hits, including assassinations aimed at consolidating her power and eliminating informants, all coordinated through encrypted messages relayed by loyal visitors or corrupt guards. She transformed prison into an extension of her command structure, directing logistics and financial laundering operations that sustained drug trafficking routes across southern Italy. Inside the prison walls, Dalterio created her own reign of terror, intimidating fellow inmates and prison staff while enforcing clan loyalty among incarcerated associates. She threatened violence against the families of anyone who cooperated with authorities and ordered assaults on disloyal prisoners, further abusing the prison hierarchy to maintain her criminal network's discipline. Her influence persisted despite isolation measures, with ongoing clan operations traced directly back to her instructions, prompting multiple investigations into prison corruption. Gender manipulation was clever, but this next female gang leader literally owned her prison and turned it into a luxury resort. Maria Dolores Estevez Zuleta. Long before modern drug cartels dominated headlines, one woman turned Mexico's prison system into her personal criminal headquarters, pioneering tactics that would inspire generations of narco-traffickers. Maria Dolores Estevez Zuleta, known as Lola La Chata, was Mexico's first major female drug trafficker, building an international network from humble beginnings as a street vendor in Mexico City's La Merced neighborhood to become a predecessor to modern drug cartels specializing in marijuana, morphine, and heroin trafficking across Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Dubbed Public Enemy No. 1 in 1945 by Mexican authorities, Lola La Chata's criminal career was marked by a revolving door of arrests and imprisonments that she transformed into business opportunities rather than setbacks. Arrested 7 times between 1934 and 1945 for crimes against public health, drug possession, and trafficking, she spent extensive periods behind bars but never disconnected from her network, instead turning facilities like Lecumberri, the women's prison in Mexico City, and the remote Islas Marias Penal colony into extensions of her cartel operations. Her prison activities were a masterclass in corruption and manipulation. During her 1937-1940 stint at Lecumberri for heroin trafficking, she spent 3 years coordinating sales from her cell, corrupting guards to smuggle drugs in and out while using inmates as couriers, effectively running a prison-based distribution hub that supplied addicts inside and extended to external markets. Her ability to bribe officials for privileges, including private visits that facilitated message passing to her daughters and associates, demonstrated a level of institutional corruption that reached the highest levels of government. The pinnacle of her prison empire came during her 1945 exile to Islas Marias, a harsh island prison, where she notoriously maintained a luxurious lifestyle with servants, a personal hairstylist, and conjugal visits. Reports claim she even funded a hotel and airstrip on the island to ease family visits, during which she relayed orders for international shipments, including drug runs to Canada using luxury cars. When transferred back to Mexico City for medical reasons, she abused this loophole to orchestrate operations unchecked, selling drugs to fellow inmates and corrupting staff throughout the system. Throughout her incarcerations, she positioned herself as a matriarchal figure, receiving visitors seeking advice or help while intimidating rivals and enforcing loyalty through threats smuggled out of prison. Her final arrest in 1957 revealed her prison-sustained wealth, millions in cash, jewels, and weapons, proving how effectively she had turned imprisonment into profit, building hotel details inside prison seems impossible to top, right? Wrong. This next female gang leader turned teenagers into human drug containers. Jennifer. In the overcrowded, violence-torn prisons of Honduras, a teenage girl named Jennifer would pioneer a system of gang control so brutal and effective that it would cast a shadow over Central American corrections for decades. Jennifer was Honduras's first female gang leader, rising to power at age 15 in the 1990s amid the influx of US-deported gang culture. Leading a faction of Barrio 18, she oversaw marijuana dealing, managed over a dozen female members, and enforced territorial control through violence and recruitment in urban areas like Tegucigalpa. Her defiance of patriarchal norms was legendary. She endured the same brutal initiation beatings as male members and commanded respect through sheer force of will in a culture where women were expected to be subordinate. But it was behind bars where Jennifer's true genius for criminal manipulation would reach its most devastating heights. Imprisoned repeatedly starting in her teens for drug dealing and killings, Jennifer transformed her incarcerations at facilities like the National Female Penitentiary for Social Adaptation, PNFAS, into platforms for gang dominance and exploitation. She commanded female Barrio 18 members from behind bars, using smuggled messages to direct external operations like marijuana trafficking, while intimidating rivals and disloyal inmates through a reign of terror that would foreshadow tragedies like the 2023 prison massacre. Her most notorious tactic involved exploiting women prisoners as mules for smuggling drugs into facilities. She coerced or recruited vulnerable girls to insert narcotics vaginally or anally for $20–40 per run, turning desperate inmates into disposable couriers while overriding prison security through corruption and threats. This systematic exploitation of women's bodies for criminal profit represented a new low in prison power abuse. Jennifer's discipline was mercilessly brutal. She authorized beatings, threats, and violence against disobedient members or perceived enemies, creating a fear-based hierarchy where non-compliance could lead to assaults or targeting of family members outside. Even when pregnant and giving birth in prison, she continued issuing orders, demonstrating how motherhood became another tool in her arsenal of control. Her legacy haunted Honduras's prison system long after her 2007 exit from gang life. The tactics she pioneered were reflected in the 2020 murder of 6 MS-13 women and the 2023 massacre of 46 inmates, where Barrio 18 members smuggled weapons, locked rivals in cells, and set fires after weeks of threats, all methods that traced back to Jennifer's original playbook of prison terror. Exploiting vulnerable girls was horrific, yet this next female gang leader did something that shocked the entire mafia world forever. Giusy Vitale. The ancient code of Omertà, the mafia's sacred vow of silence, had never been broken by a woman until Giusy Vitale shattered it from inside a maximum security prison, creating one of the most shocking betrayals in organized crime history. Giusy Vitale was groundbreaking as the first woman to lead a mafia clan, defying Cosa Nostra's male-only traditions after her brother's arrests in 1998. Leading the Vitale clan, also called Fardazza, a faction controlling the Partinico Mandamento near Palermo, she managed drug trafficking, extortion, and murders while allied with notorious Corleone bosses. Her criminal reign was brief but explosive. Arrested in June 1998, just 2 months after assuming command, she was sentenced to 6 years for mafia association, during which she initially followed traditional paths of prison-based crime coordination. Like her male counterparts, she abused her position by participating in brothers' decisions from behind bars, relaying orders via family visits to sustain drug trafficking, extortion, and hits while contacting bosses like Leoluca Bagarella and Giovanni Brusca to maintain crucial alliances. Released in December 2002, she was rearrested in March 2003 for ordering the 1998 murder of businessman Salvatore Riina, a traitor to her clan, which she had allegedly orchestrated remotely during her first imprisonment. This time, authorities were taking no chances, subjecting her to the harsh 41-bis isolation regime designed for high-profile mafiosi with limited visits and no phone access. Initially, Giusy followed the expected script. She enforced Omertà, intimidating potential informants and exchanging coded messages to protect clan secrets, while even petitioning for divorce from her husband Angelo Calecca, who was serving time for a killing she had ordered, violating mafia adultery bans but maintaining criminal solidarity. However, the psychological pressure of isolation and a mother's love would soon crack the foundation of her loyalty. The turning point came in February 2005, while incarcerated, when she met Pentito Alfio Garozzo, whose influence led her to make the unprecedented decision to become a state witness. business. Her justification was heartbreaking in its simplicity. For my children, after her son asked, "Mama, what is the mafia?" This question shattered her criminal resolve, leading her to break omertà by testifying against her brothers and clan, revealing structures, murders, and operations in court testimony that shocked the mafia world. Her brother Leonardo called her a poisonous insect via video link, and death threats forced her into witness protection. Yet investigations suggest she later resumed advising nephew Michel Casarubia on drug trades from 2017 onward, potentially abusing her protection status to return to criminal activities. Breaking the sacred code of silence was unprecedented, but this next female gang leader coordinated international murders from solitary confinement. Griselda Blanco. Even the concrete walls and steel bars of America's most secure federal prisons couldn't contain the reach of Griselda Blanco, the woman who had turned Miami into a cocaine battleground and now sought to transform incarceration into just another business opportunity. Known as the godmother of cocaine, Blanco controlled an extensive trafficking empire based in Miami with strong ties to Colombia's Medellin cartel, pioneering violent distribution methods that dominated the U.S. cocaine trade throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Her reputation preceding her into prison was terrifying. Credited with inventing brutal tactics like drive-by shootings and implicated in over 200 murders, including those of rivals, witnesses, and even her own husbands, Blanco's ruthless rise from poverty in Medellin had earned her nicknames like La Madrina and Black Widow, making her one of history's most infamous drug lords. Her nearly two-decade imprisonment, beginning with her 1985 arrest for drug trafficking and conspiracy, was characterized by persistent attempts to wield power from behind bars that would make even hardened corrections officers fear for their safety. Initially held in federal facilities like the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York and later transferred to the Federal Correctional Institution in Marianna, Florida, Blanco faced charges that expanded in 1994 to include 3 first-degree murders, for which she pleaded guilty in 1998 to avoid the death penalty. Despite being confined in solitary or high-security units due to her dangerous reputation, Blanco abused her position by leveraging smuggled communications, such as payphones or corrupt guards, to issue orders for violence. Prosecutors alleged she directed hits on witnesses and rivals to protect her empire, including attempts to silence those testifying against her sons, 3 of whom were eventually killed with suspicions she may have indirectly contributed through her ongoing feuds. The most documented evidence of her prison abuses came from intercepted prison phone calls in the 1990s, where she discussed cartel finances and threatened associates, demonstrating her refusal to relinquish control even under surveillance. These calls contributed to additional charges and highlighted how she turned prison into a command center, exploiting loopholes in monitoring to coordinate drug shipments and launder money through family members. Her manipulation extended beyond criminal coordination. Suffering from heart problems and obesity, she secured compassionate release considerations multiple times, but her 2002 stroke while incarcerated led to wheelchair-bound confinement, during which she allegedly continued intimidating inmates and staff, creating a climate of fear where fellow prisoners avoided her due to her legendary violence. Her deportation to Colombia in 2004, after serving 19 years, marked the end of her U.S. incarceration, but her prison legacy persisted when she was assassinated in 2012 by motorcycle gunmen, mirroring her own signature tactic. International hit coordination sounds unbeatable, doesn't it? Well, this next female gang leader spent 25 years manipulating America's media. Catherine Kelly. Behind the glamorous facade of one of America's most notorious Depression-era crime partnerships lay a master manipulator who would spend 25 years turning federal prison into her personal stage for defiance and publicity-seeking. Catherine Kelly was infamous as the ambitious Moll who transformed her husband from a minor bootlegger into the legendary Machine Gun Kelly, gifting him his first Thompson submachine gun and crafting his tough guy image through calculated media leaks and taunting notes to authorities. Alongside her husband George Machine Gun Kelly, Catherine controlled a Depression-era criminal gang focused on bootlegging, bank robberies, and high-profile kidnappings across the Midwest and South. Their outfit operated as a mobile unit specializing in ransom schemes, most famously the 1933 abduction of oil tycoon Charles Urschel for $200,000, which made them public enemy number 1 and led to one of the FBI's first major cases under J. Edgar Hoover. Catherine's 25-year incarceration, starting with her 1933 life sentence for the Urschel kidnapping, became a masterclass in manipulative abuse of power through persistent persistent legal maneuvering and exploitation of prison systems for personal gain. Convicted in Oklahoma City, alongside her husband, mother, and stepfather, she was initially held at the federal penitentiary in Leavenworth before transfers to facilities including the women's prison in Cincinnati and eventually the Federal Reformatory for Women in Alderson, West Virginia. From day one, Catherine abused her notoriety by flooding courts with appeals and habeas corpus petitions, claiming she was a victim of her husband's crimes and that evidence was fabricated. Her most notorious effort in 1934 involved smuggling letters to journalists detailing alleged FBI misconduct, aiming to sway public sympathy and pressure for retrials, which delayed proceedings and cost taxpayers significantly while keeping their case in headlines. Her exploitation of family connections was particularly calculated. Her mother, Aura, serving life alongside her until 1958, helped coordinate external campaigns, including petitions signed by thousands asserting their innocence, turning prison correspondence into a propaganda tool. Catherine attempted to negotiate freedom through back-channel deals, thwarting potential paroles by refusing to implicate others while using prison visits to sustain her innocent wife narrative. At Alderson, she leveraged her celebrity status to gain privileges like better work assignments and intimidated fellow prisoners with stories of her gangster life, creating an aura of authority that allowed her to trade favors for loyalty. She wrote taunting notes and poems from prison, some published in newspapers, mocking authorities and reinforcing her husband's myth while abusing male privileges to undermine law enforcement's image. Her persistent denials during parole hearings prolonged her sentence until 1958, when a judge finally commuted it, but only after she had spent decades turning prison into a platform for defiance and self-promotion. Media manipulation for decades was masterful, but what if this next female gang leader had her own cousin running prosecutions? Guadalupe Hernandez Hervis. In the ultra-violent world of Mexico's Los Zetas cartel, where brutality was currency and betrayal meant death, one woman would prove that female leadership could be just as ruthless and manipulative as any male cartel boss. Guadalupe Hernandez Hervis, alias La Jefa, led a faction of Los Zetas, one of Mexico's most violent cartels, operating primarily in Veracruz as second-in-command to Hernan Martinez Zavaleta, LH, overseeing drug trafficking, extortion, kidnappings, and territorial control. La Jefa gained infamy in the 2010s as a rare female high-ranking Zetas leader, known for her ruthless betrayal of LH in 2017, which led to his arrest and fractured the cartel's Veracruz operations. Her familial link to Veracruz's state prosecutor Veronica Hernandez Giordans sparked massive corruption scandals, amplifying her status as a symbol of cartel infiltration into government at the highest levels. Her post-arrest incarceration, likely beginning after her cousin's 2020 confirmation of her Zetas role, involved alleged abuses of power through continued coordination of cartel activities that underscored Los Zetas' deep penetration of Mexico's penal system. Held in a Veracruz or federal facility under heightened security for high-profile narcos, La Jefa leveraged smuggled cell phones and bribed guards to direct external operations, including drug shipments and extortion rackets targeting businesses in Los Tuxtlas, maintaining her influence despite isolation protocols. Her most extensively reported abuse stemmed from her 2017 betrayal of LH, which prosecutors believe she orchestrated partly from early custody phases, using insider knowledge to negotiate with authorities while simultaneously threatening witnesses to silence rival testimonies. This double dealing extended into prison, where she allegedly ordered violence against disloyal inmates or their families outside, creating a fear-based hierarchy within her cell block. Mexican news outlets described her as manipulating gender dynamics, positioning herself as a matriarch to recruit female prisoners as couriers or informants, exploiting overcrowded and understaffed prisons to sustain Zetas' loyalty through promises of protection or payments. Her connection to prosecutor cousin Veronica fueled accusations of preferential treatment, including extended visits and delayed transfers, allowing her to coordinate defenses or counterintelligence operations from behind bars. In Veracruz's climate of extreme cartel violence, her prison actions contributed to broader instability, with investigations suggesting she authorized kidnappings and hits on rivals post-arrest to consolidate power amid Zetas' infighting. As of 2025, her status remains opaque, whether incarcerated or in witness protection due to her betrayals, but her legacy of prison-orchestrated control endures in analyses of female cartel leadership. Family corruption reaches new heights when this next female gang leader gives birth while orchestrating revenge killings from her cell. Assunta Maresca. Prison was never meant to be a stage, but for Assunta Pupetta Maresca, every moment of incarceration became another opportunity to cement her legend as the most charismatic and manipulative woman in Camorra history. Dubbed Madame Camorra, the diva of crime, and Little Doll, Maresca had gained global infamy at 18 for publicly executing her husband's killer in 1955 while pregnant, firing 29 shots and declaring in court, "I would do it again," to thunderous cheers. Her trial had inspired songs like La Legge d'Onore, making her the first woman sentenced for a Camorra vendetta, while establishing her as a symbol of female mafia empowerment. Deeply embedded in the Camorra, through her family, the Lightning Knives, Lampetielli, she had partnered with drug baron Umberto Amaturo to manage smuggling and extortion operations while resisting Raffaele Cutolo's NCO during the violent 1980s clan wars. Convicted in 1959 for the revenge killing of Antonio Esposito, she was initially sentenced to 18 years, reduced to 13 years and 4 months, serving 10 years from 1955 to 1965, with what authorities later called a suspicious pardon amid overwhelming public sympathy. During this period, pregnant upon arrest, she gave birth to her son Pasquale in prison, immediately exploiting her unique status as a celebrity criminal mother. Her ability to manipulate the prison environment was legendary. Guards reportedly managed traffic of admirers clamoring for visits, allowing her to receive lavish love letters, gifts, and maintain emotional networks with the outside Camorra world. She positioned herself as a matriarchal advisor, dispensing counsel on mafia dealings to fellow inmates and local mobsters who sought her wisdom, effectively continuing criminal operations by influencing decisions remotely while reinforcing loyalty through her legendary reputation. In a clear abuse of power, she had awestruck fellow prisoners perform personal tasks like changing her son's diapers, exploiting the prison hierarchy and her notoriety to turn inmates into servants, creating a climate of deference and fear identical to her external Camorra control. Transferred briefly to Nasida Island prison after birth, she maintained this influence, with reports of her advising on vendettas and smuggling operations. Rearrested in 1982 for extortion and the murder of forensic scientist Aldo Semerari, allegedly ordered to silence him, she served 4 years before acquittal. During this stint, while denying involvement, her partner Amaturo later confessed, suggesting she may have issued orders via visits or corrupt channels to protect her network. Released in the mid-1980s, she continued to face accusations until her death, her incarcerations having solidified her as a figure who masterfully blurred the lines between victim and criminal mastermind. Childbirth during murder plots was extreme, but this next female gang leader exposed corruption so effectively she toppled police departments nationwide. Stephanie St. Clair. In an era when most prisoners simply served their time and disappeared into obscurity, Stephanie St. Clair transformed her incarcerations into platforms for activism and networking that would reshape Harlem's criminal landscape and expose systemic corruption at the highest levels of New York's government. Known as Queenie, Madam Queen, or Queen of the Policy Rackets, St. Clair controlled a major numbers racket operation in Harlem, employing 40-50 runners and 10 comptrollers to manage an illegal lottery that supported black businesses while resisting white mob takeovers. Her flamboyant lifestyle as a Harlem icon, earning $200,000 annually, $3 million today, had made her a target of both law enforcement and rival criminals. Her notoriety peaked during the 1930s turf war with Dutch Schultz, where she attacked his fronts, exposed police corruption, and famously sent a taunting telegram to his deathbed: "As ye sow, so shall ye reap." St. Clair's prison stints, totaling over 820 days cumulatively during her career, revealed her unique ability to leverage incarceration for advocacy and potential criminal networking, rather than simple punishment. First imprisoned in 1930 for possession of policy slips, she served 8 months in a New York workhouse on what she claimed were trumped-up charges after publicly accusing police of corruption via Amsterdam news columns, detailing $6,600 in bribes paid since 1929. During this initial stint, she notoriously testified before the Seabury Commission on police kickbacks, abusing her platform to expose systemic graft in what became one of the most significant corruption investigations in New York history. Her revelations led to the suspension and firing of over a dozen officers, effectively turning prison into a launchpad for anti-corruption activism that indirectly protected her operations by disrupting her rivals' police protections. In 1938, after shooting husband Sufi Abdulhamid over suspected infidelity, she was convicted of first-degree assault and concealed weapon possession, sentenced to 2 to 10 years in Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for Women. Released in the early 1940s, this longer stint stint followed her exit from the numbers game, but her prior pattern of defiance suggested possible exploitation of prison dynamics to maintain influence. Sources suggest she networked with inmates, potentially recruiting or sustaining alliances in Harlem's underground as her business continued post-release from her first incarceration. Her incarcerations overlapped with the Schultz War, where she spent fortunes on bail, suggesting prison served as a temporary shield rather than a command center. Post-release, she lived secluded as a prosperous business woman, dying in 1969 in a psychiatric facility. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.